Hello, welcome back to Let's Play Morrowind. This might be a bit of a weird episode today because I'm not quite sure what we're going to be doing. Previously, we were tasked by Almalexia to travel to the Clockwork City to speak with or deal with Sothasil, who she claims has gone. He's turned a bit unstable, apparently. That's what Almalexia says. She says he's not the god he once was. He's unstable, maybe dangerous. A lot of things which, to be honest, people are saying about her. But, yeah, we're having a bit of time to prepare. And I don't. Oh gosh, this ash storm. Let's go back to the house. Now I don't think I'm going to get to Clockwork City today, or maybe I will end the episode there. We're going to prepare. We're going to seek counsel from the only other person we can think of. We tried Baron Zaya, and she doesn't have anything to say on the matter, but we thought maybe it would be worth getting a second opinion from maybe the other living god, Vivek. I mean, what's the point in having living gods if you can't go up to them and talk to them? So we've spoken with Almalexia, so surely Vivek can't be much worse. I don't think he's going to have much to tell us, honestly, but I think it's something Siltonalia would do, or at least attempt. And we might get something out of it. Might glean some new insight. But doing that and then faffing around, I think I'll I prefer to have this episode shorter and start fresh if we get to Clockwork City. So this might be a mini episode. Who knows though? Who knows? We'll see what happens. First thing I want to do is dump some stuff here. We're carrying an awful lot of things, so well, but we're going to want to take an awful lot of stuff with us, aren't we? So okay, I'll worry about that in a minute. Let's head to what time is it? Let's get some sleep and then let's head to Vivek to speak to Vivek. Oh, I've got a beer today that I haven't tried before. It's called sounds like something from Morrowind. It's called Kinnegar Farmhouse Beers from Donegal. American style IPA. I don't really know what that means, but it's very nice. Okay, so divine intervention first of all. Let's get over to back here. Now I need the reception area, which I think is maybe this one. Vvardenfell, please. And from here, it's just should we? Let's equip True Flame. That might give us a bit more. I don't know. You know, a bit more importance with Vivek. Maybe it'll impress him, seeing the weapon of his long dead ally, his friend, whatever they were. Right, a different intervention now. Almzivi. And here we are. So that was easy. So, at the top of this canton, we've been in here before. We've been in the puzzle canal, but we've never been in the I don't know what you call it, the dome at the top. Hello. Do I have a bounty? No. These ordinators are a little bit more restrained. They're not trying to kill me. That's nice. Justice never sleeps. No, I've heard. Nerevar. Latest rumours around town. What could kill 2 ordinators before they draw their weapons? Slit their throats? Happened right here. Yeah, no, we've heard about that before. We're not interested in rumours today. We've got bigger fish to fry. Wow, it's nice up here. I like it. Morning, you two. Is Vivek awake? Am I allowed in? Well, the door's locked. But it looks like the ordinators, they're not terribly bothered by me standing here. Maybe they just assume whoever needs to get inside can just enter. Can I just sort of... do that? Yeah, I can. Oh, okay. Always a bit nervous about, I was nervous about seeing Almalexia for the first time, and same with Vivek. There's a real... I don't know. I don't know what it is. Ah! God, that made me jump. Fucking hell. I jumped so much I hit the spacebar a second time. Oh, that ruined all of the tension. Okay, now I'm just here. Sultan Elliot shocks herself on the trap as she enters the door, ruining her entrance.
Huh?
She's always on the back, already on the back foot. Excuse me, my phone's going. I haven't put it on silent. Right, excuse me. I went to put my phone on silent, and then my cat was hassling me, and I had to sort that out. So I'm back. We are here in front of the living god himself, Vivek. Let's see what Vivek has to say. He's looking sharp, Vivek. I like this replacer. I couldn't remember if I had even installed a replacer for him, but I have, and yeah, I like it. He's got the glowing flames from the artwork, the concept art. Yeah, very good. Hovering there, just a small hover. He doesn't want to use up all his energy, but there he goes again. You have come uninvited. I have nothing to say to you. And that's it. Perhaps put off by our clumsy entrance, perhaps these herd of Almalexia's plaything, trying to claim that I'm a Nerevarine, giving me Nerevar's weapon. Maybe he just thinks it's all a bit distasteful and he doesn't want to speak to me. I don't know what Vivek and Almalexia's relationship is like these days. Maybe Vivek's jealous that Almalexia's dead husband's been supposedly reborn. You know, maybe he thought after all these thousands of years he was finally out of the friend zone. Who knows what's going on in the mind of a living god. Can we have a look around in here? He doesn't seem bothered. No, he won't speak with us. That's a shame. So Vivek, he just doesn't care. He doesn't want to speak to us. Doesn't want to hear anything we have to say. He doesn't want to weigh in on the issue regarding Sothersil. Silternalia feels insulted. Insulted. At least Almalexia, as scary and unpredictable as she is, and maybe a bit insane, at least she speaks to you, have a conversation with you. But Vivek doesn't want to know. However, we do have some reading material here. He doesn't seem to have a problem with us knocking about back here. He hasn't kicked us out. He hasn't called the Ordinators. I feel like Vivek's just maybe a very passive character. So what does he have here? Is a plan to defeat Dagoth. Document about the battle at Red Mountain. Document about Dagoth's plans. And a document about Nerevar at Red Mountain. Huh? That one's caught Silternali's attention, obviously. Where do we start? Let's start at the beginning. The Battle of Red Mountain. The Battle of Red Mountain. The rise and fall of the Tribunal. The following is a transcript of the words of Lord Vivek, addressed to a dissident priest, Mala Omain, who confronted Vivek with the Ashlander traditions surrounding the Battle of Red Mountain and with prophecies of the Nerevarine, and to unnamed magistrates of the Inquisition who joined Vivek in interrogating the dissident priest. Now this is a bit long. Oh bloody hell. This is a bit long, but I think this is all very important stuff, so I'm going to take a swig of beer and settle back and try and get through this. Who can clearly recall the events of the distant past? But you have asked me to tell you, in my own words, the events surrounding the Battle of Red Mountain, the birth of the Tribunal, and the prophecies of a Nerevar reborn. Here is what I can tell you. When the Chimer first abandoned the herds and tents of the nomadic ancestors and built the first great houses, we loved the Daedra and worshipped them as gods. But our brethren, the dwemer, scorned the Daedra and mocked our foolish rituals and preferred instead their gods of reason and logic. So the Chimer and the dwemer were always at bitter war until the Nords came and invaded Resdain. Resdain being the old name for Vvardenfell. Or Morrowind, which one? One of them, one of the two. Only then did the Chimer and dwemer put away their strife and join together to cast out the invaders. Once the Nords were driven out, General Nerevar of the Chimer and General Dumak of the dwemer, who had come to love and respect one another, resolved to make peace between their peoples. In that time, I was but a junior counsellor to Nerevar, and Nerevar's queen, Almalexia, and his other favourite counsellor, Sothersil, always doubted that such a peace might long survive, given the bitter disputes between the Chimer and the dwemer. But by negotiation and compromise, Nerevar and Dumak somehow managed to preserve a fragile peace. But when Dagoth, Lord of House Dagoth, and trusted as a friend by both Nerevar and the dwemer, brought us proof that High Engineer Kagranak of the dwemer had discovered the heart of Lorcan, and that he had learned how to tap its powers, and was building a new god, a mockery of Chimer faith and a fearsome weapon, we all urged Nerevar to make war on the dwarves and to destroy this threat to the Chimer beliefs and security. Nerevar was troubled. He went to Dumak and asked if what Dagoth said was true. But Kagranak took great offence and asked whom Nerevar thought he was, that he might presume to judge the affairs of the dwemer. Nerevar was further troubled and made pilgrimage to Holomaen, the sacred temple of Azura, and Azura confirmed that all that Dagoth said was indeed true, and that the creation of a new god of the dwemer should be prevented at all costs. When Nerevar came back and told us what the goddess had said, we felt our judgments confirmed and again counselled him to war, chiding Nerevar for his naive trust in friendship and reminding Nerevar of his duty to protect the faith and security of the Chimer against the impiety and dangerous ambitions of the dwemer. This is quite a lot of text to read. Then Nerevar went back to Vvardenfell one last time, hoping that negotiations and compromise might once again preserve that peace. But this time the friends Nerevar and Dumak quarrelled bitterly, and as a result the Chimer and Dwemer went to war. The Dwemer were well defended by their fortress at Red Mountain, but Nerevar's cunning drew most of Dumak's armies out into the field and pinned them there, while Nerevar, Dagoth, and a small group of companions could make their way into the Heart Chamber by secret means. There, Nerevar, the Chimer King, met Dumak, the Dwarf King, and they both collapsed from grievous wounds and draining magics. With Dumak fallen, and so this doesn't describe if they fought or who injured who there. That's interesting. Vec kind of left that out. With Dumak fallen and threatened by Dagoth and others, Kagranak turned his tools upon the heart, and Nerevar said he saw Kagranak and all his Dwemer companions at once disappear from the world. In that instant, Dwemer everywhere disappeared, without a trace. But Kagranak's tools remained, and Dagoth seized them, and he carried them to Nerevar, saying, "That fool Kagranak has destroyed his own people with these things. We should destroy them right away, lest they fall into the wrong hands," said Dagoth. But Nerevar was resolved to confer with his queen and his generals, who had foreseen that this war would come and whose counsel he would not ignore again. "I will ask the Tribunal what we shall do with them, for they have had wisdom in the past that I had not. Stay here, loyal Dagoth, until I return." So Nerevar told Dagoth to protect the tools and the heart chamber until he returned. Then Nerevar was carried to us so Nerevar's still injured. I see. Nerevar was carried to us where we waited on the slopes of Red Mountain and told us all that had transpired under Red Mountain. What Nerevar had said was that the Dwemer had used special tools to turn their people into immortals, and that the heart of Lorcan held wondrous powers. Only later did we hear from others present that Dagoth had thought the Dwemer destroyed, not made immortal, and no one knows for sure what really happened there. Okay. After hearing Nerevar, we gave our counsel as requested, proposing we should preserve these tools in trust for the welfare of the Chimer people. And who knows, perhaps the Dwemer are not gone forever, but merely transported to some distant realm from which they may someday return to threaten our security once again. Therefore, we need to keep these tools to study them and their principles so that we may be safe in future generations. And though Nerevar voiced his grave misgivings, he was willing to be ruled by our council under one condition: that we all together should swear a solemn oath upon Azura that the tools would never be used in the profane manner that the Dwemer had intended. We all readily agreed and swore solemn oaths at Nerevar's dictation. So they can't use them in the way the dwemer had intended, and the dwemer intended to make a new god of logic and reason, or something, to activate their metal god. I don't think it said its name in this document. Has it said? Because I can't remember which is which, Numidium or Akukan. So those are the two robots? I can't remember. We might find out now if we keep reading. So then we went with Nerevar back into Red Mountain and met with Dagoth. Dagoth refused to deliver the tools to us, saying they were dangerous and we could not touch them. Dagoth seemed to be irrational, insisting that only he could be trusted with the tools, and then we guessed that he had somehow been affected by his handling of the tools. Okay, tools which have an effect on you just by handling them. That sounds like something we found recently. Affected by his handling of the tools. But now I feel sure that he had privately learned the powers of the tools and had in some confused way decided he must have them for himself. Then Nerevar and our guard resorted to force to secure the tools. Somehow, Dagoth and his retainers escaped, but we gained the tools and delivered them to Sotha-Sil for study and safekeeping. For some years we kept the oaths we swore to Azura with Nerevar, but during that time, in secret, Sotha-Sil must have... So it doesn't say what happened to Nerevar here. I thought he died on Red Mountain. For some years we kept the oaths we swore to Azura with Nerevar, but during that time, in secret, Sotha-Sil must have studied the tools and divined their mysteries. And at last he came to us with a vision of a new world peace, with justice and honour for nobles and health and prosperity for the commoners, with the Tribunal as immortal patrons and guides. And dedicating ourselves to this vision of a better world, we made a pilgrimage to Red Mountain and transformed ourselves with the power of Kagranak's tools. Okay, so from Vivek's mouth, this is what happened. They took the tools made by the dwemer and used them on the heart of Lorcan to turn themselves into living gods. Okay. And no sooner than we had completed our rituals and begun to discover our newfound powers, the Daedra Lord Azura appeared and cursed us for our forsworn oaths. By her powers of prophecy, she assured us that her champion, Nerevar, true to his oath, would return. Yeah, so Nerevar's dead now, but Vivek hasn't mentioned that. Maybe the other document will expand on that. Anyway, Nerevar would return to punish us for our perfidy. Perfidy. Don't know that word. Excuse me. For our perfidy, and make sure such profane knowledge might never again be used to mock and defy the will of the gods. But Sotha-Sil said to her, the old gods are cruel and arbitrary, and distant from the hopes and fears of Mer. Your age is past. We are the new gods, born of the flesh, and wise and caring of the needs of our people. Spare us your threats and chiding, inconsistent spirit. We are bold and fresh, and we will not fear you. Bloody hell, Sotha-Sil. Sotha-Sil just burning Azura there. Wow. What a bold guy. Calling a Daedric prince an inconsistent... Oh, no, not inconstant spirit. I thought it said inconsistent. I thought that was a really funny insult. Right, okay. And then, in that moment, all Chima were changed into Dunmer, and our skins turned ashen and our eyes turned into fire. Of course, we only knew at the time that this had happened to us, but Azura said, this is not my act, but your act. You have chosen your fate, and the fate of your people, and all the Dunmer shall share your fate from now to the end of time. You think yourselves gods, but you are blind, and all is darkness. And Azura left us alone in darkness, and we were all afraid. But we put on brave faces and went forth from Red Mountain to build the new world of our dreams. So yeah, that's the point when the Chimer turned into the Dunmer. They went from, I think their skin was kind of the colour of high elves, something similar to that, and now they have their grey skin. You'll notice as well, Almalexia has kept her original skin colour. She used her god powers apparently to just, revert Azura's curse. Vivek, interestingly, has the duality. He's got he's part his original skin colour and half the grey skin of the Dunmer, as a kind of symbol, as a link between old and new gods and mortals. I don't know, but yeah, that's an interesting touch. Shame we can't ask him about it, isn't it? Anyway, where were we? Vivek talking about his new world, so let's see. And the new world we shaped was glorious and generous, and the worship of the Dunmer fervent and grateful. The Dunmer were at first afraid of their new faces, but Sothasil spoke to them, saying that it was not a curse but a blessing, a sign of their changed natures, a sign of the special favour they might enjoy as new Mer, no longer barbarians trembling before ghosts and spirits, but civilized Mer, speaking directly to their immortal friends and patrons. The three faces of the Tribunal. And we were all inspired by Sothasil's speech and vision and took heart. And over time, we crafted the customs and institutions of a just and honourable society, and the land of Resdain knew millennia of peace, equity, and prosperity, unknown to other savage races. But beneath Red Mountain, Dagoth had survived, and even as the light of our bold new world shined ever more brightly, beneath Red Mountain the darkness gathered, a darkness that was close kin to the bright light that Sothasil coaxed from the heart of Lorcan with the tools of Kagranak. As the darkness grew, we fought it and crafted walls to confine it, but we never could destroy it, for the source of the darkness was the same source as the source of our own divine inspiration. There we go. So, yeah, Dagoth used the heart of Lorcan himself, somehow it looks like. Unclear, but before they returned to take the tools from him, I suppose he must have used them in some way to access the heart. And in these latter days of Morrowind, reduced to a subjugated province of the Western Empire as the glory of the temple fades and the dark tide rises from Red Mountain, we are reminded of Azura and her promised champion's return. We have waited, blind and in darkness, mere shadows drained of our ardent vision, in shame of our folly, in fear of our judgment, and in hope of our deliverance. We do not know the outlander claiming to fulfill the prophecies of the Nerevarine is our old companion Nerevar reborn, or a pawn of the Emperor, or a cat's paw of Azura, or some simple twist of fate. But we insist you adhere to temple doctrine and conform to the strictures dividing the hierographer from the apocrypha, and that you not speak that which must not be spoken openly. Okay, that last bit went over my head a little bit. Is this document directed to Nerevarine? Are you speaking to a priest? I thought this was... No, he's speaking to a priest, isn't he? So he's saying... He's saying, despite the apparent fall of the temple and the darkness spreading over Morrowind, still remain faithful, I think. Act as a dutiful priest should, in accordance with your vows of obedience to the canons and archcanons, and all will be forgiven. Defy me, and you will know what it is to stand against a god. Vivek. Guy's getting bitter in his old age, isn't he? Right, that was a lot of information, but it clarified a lot of things which we had just gleaned bits and pieces of so far, and I feel like it's quite important to kind of catch up on some of this story. So I think next let's jump into Nerevar at Red Mountain. It's another bloody long one. Oh my god. Oh gosh, I might die. Right, okay. Nerevar at Red Mountain. The following is from the Apocrypha, the hidden writings of the Tribunal Temple. It is a scholarly retelling of a tradition transmitted through the Ashlanders concerning the battle at Red Mountain and subsequent events. The Ashlanders associate this tale with the telling of Alandro Sul, a shield companion of Nerevar who came to live among the Ashlanders after the death of Nerevar and during the ascension of the Tribunal. There are many variant treatments of this story, but the primary elements are consistent throughout the tradition. The murder of Nerevar, the tragic fate of Dagoth and the profane source of the Tribunal's divine powers are denied by the Temple doctrine as ignorant Ashlander superstition, and not widely known among civilized Dunmer. Resdayn, present-day Morrowind, was contested ground between two very different types of Mer, the Chimer, who worshipped Daedra, and the Dwemer, who worshipped a profane and secret power. These two people warred with each other constantly until their lands were invaded by a young, vibrant, violent, alien culture, the Nords. Okay, we kind of know this. Yeah, okay, so this is a bit of a recap on the war. We know this. I can skip this a little bit. Oh, maybe not. Okay. So, Nords invade. Dwemer and Chimer unite to defend it. There would be peace until Dagoth arrived. House Dagoth had discovered the source of the profane and secret power of the Dwemer, the legendary Heart of Lorcan, which Dumac's people had used to make themselves immortal and beyond the measure of the gods. In fact, one of their high priests... So this is conflicting the other document, which said that the Dwemer disappeared. Now it's saying that the Dwemer had used the Heart of Lorcan to make themselves immortal and beyond the measure of gods, whatever that means. In fact, one of their high priests, Kagranak, was building a new god so that the Dwemer could claim Resdayn for their own. The Tribunal urged Nerevar again to make war on the dwarves. Nerevar was troubled. He went to Dumac, his friend of old, and asked if what Dagoth said was true, but Kagranak and the high priests of the Dwemer had kept their new god's secret from their king. And Dumac said the Dwemer were innocent of any wrongdoing. Okay. Nerevar goes to Holomayan to speak with Azura, who confirmed that Dagoth was telling the truth. We know this. And then the Tribunal counsel Nerevar to war. Okay. Finally, Nerevar, angered that his friend Dumac would lie to him, went back to Vvardenfell. This time the Chimer King was arrayed in arms and armour, and had his hosts around him, and he spoke harshly to Dumac, Dwarf Orc, king of Red Mountain. You must give up your worship of the heart of Lorcan, or I shall forget our friendship and the deeds that were accomplished in its name. And Dumak, who still knew nothing of Kagranak's new god, but proud and protective as ever of his people, said, We shall not relinquish that which has been our way for years beyond reckoning, just as the Chimer will not relinquish their ties to the lords and ladies of Oblivion. And to come at my door in this way, arrayed in arms and armour, and with your hosts around you, tells me that you have already forgotten our friendship. Stand down, my sweet Nerevar, or I swear by the 15 and 1 golden tones I shall kill you and all your people. Ooh, fighting words, Dumak. And so the Chimer and the dwemer went to war. The dwemer were well defended by the fortress at Red Mountain, but the bravery and cleverness of Nerevar's queen and generals drew most of Dumak's armies out into the field, so that Nerevar and Dagoth could make their way into the Heart Chamber by secret means. Yes, okay, we've read this. Okay, this seems a bit different here, though. There, Nerevar met Dumak and the Dwarf King, and wait, are Dumak and the Dwarf King different people? I thought it was Dumak, Dwarf King. There Nerevar met Dumak and the Dwarf King, and they both fell from grievous wounds. Dagoth slew Kagranak and took the tools the dwemer used to tap the power of the heart. Okay, that's weird. He went to his dying lord Nerevar and asked him what to do with these tools. And Nerevar summoned Azura again, and she showed them how to use the tools to separate the power of the heart from the dwemer people. And on the fields the Tribunal and their armies watched as the dwemer turned into dust all around them as their stolen immortality was taken away. Okay, so in one version of events we have Kagranak, as they're under attack, hurriedly using the tools and doing something with the heart and causing the dwemer to vanish. And in this version, Dagoth kills Kagranak, takes the tools, and Azura does something. Shows Dagoth and Nerevar how to use the tools, because the dwemer had already, in this version, the dwemer had already made themselves immortal. And they used the tools to take away that immortality. And the dwemer turned to dust. So, don't know which to believe. No way of knowing, really. I do find it interesting that in the previous one, when Kagranak does it, they just vanish. And in this version, they turn to dust, because we have found the dust piles in Dwemer Ruins. But they could have turned to dust in either version, I suppose. Anyway, let's continue. Back in Red Mountain, Nerevar told Dagoth to protect the tools and the heart chamber until he returned. Dagoth said, but shouldn't we destroy these tools at once so that they might never be used for evil again? But Nerevar was confused by his wounds and his sorrow, for he still loved Dumak and the Dwemer people. And so went to the fields outside of Red Mountain to confer with his queen and his generals, who had foreseen that this war would come and whose counsel he would not ignore again. Okay, read this before. So he leaves Dagoth. Stay there, Dagoth, I'll be back in a minute, says Nerevar. Then Nerevar tells everyone what's going on. How the Dwemer had used special tools to turn their people into immortals, and of the wondrous power of the heart of Lorcan. The Tribunal decided that the Chimer should learn how to use this power so that Nerevar might claim Resdayn and the world for their people. Nerevar did not expect or want this, so he asked his queen and generals to help him summon Azura yet again for her guidance. But the tribunal had become greedy as Kagrenac upon hearing of the power of the heart, and they coveted it. They made ritual as if to summon Azura, as Nerevar wanted, but Almalexia used poisoned candles, and Sothasil used poisoned robes, and Vivek used poisoned invocations. Nerevar was murdered. So each of the 3 tribunal in this version had a hand in killing Nerevar. Then Azura came forth anyway. I kind of like the idea of them doing like a fake ritual and killing Nerevar, and then Azura just pops up anyway. Then Azura came forth anyway and cursed the tribunal for their foul deeds. She told them that she would use her powers over dusk and dawn to make sure Nerevar would come back and make things right again. But the tribunal laughed at her and said that soon they would be gods themselves, and that the Chimer people would forget their old ways of worship. So in this version, the Dunmer are cursed. The Dunmer are cursed before the tribunal make themselves into gods. So Azura curses... Yeah, that doesn't sound right to me. This second bit here sounds a little bit wrong, because I don't think Azura would curse all of the Dunmer people just because the tribunal murdered Nerevar. For turning themselves into gods, that makes a bit more sense, but to pop up at this point and just turn all the Chimer to Dunmer seems a bit much too soon. Anyway, yeah, the tribunal said they'll be gods soon, and Azura knew this would be true, and that it would take a long time before her power might bring Nerevar back. What you have done here today is foul beyond measure, and you will grow to regret it, for the lives of gods are not what mortals think, and matters that weigh only years to mortals weigh on gods forever. And so that they might know forever their wicked deeds, Azura changed the Chimer into Dunmer, and their skin turned ashen and their eyes into fire. Let this mark remind you of your true selves who, like ghouls, fed on nobility, heroism and trust of their king. And then the tribunal went into Red Mountain and met with Dagoth. Dagoth saw what had been done, for his skin had changed as well, and he tried to avenge the death of Nerevar, but to no avail. He was driven off and thought dead. The tribunal found the tools he had been guarding and, through study of Kagrenac's methods, turned themselves into gods. Thousands of years after their apotheosis, the tribunal are still the gods of Morrowind, and the old ways of worship are remembered only by a few. And the murder of Nerevar is known to fewer. But his queen and generals still fear his return, for the words of Azura linger long, and they see the mark of her curse on their people every day. Wow, okay. I think one big thing that's jumping out at Silternalia is how it might suddenly seem very dangerous to be called a Nerevarine. Almalexia is going on about how Silternalia is Nerevar reborn, and it seemed just like madness and, you know, kind of just indulging her at first. Now it seems properly dangerous, because if the gods are scared that the Nerevarine is going to return to avenge his own death, then like, maybe Silternalia is in a bit of an antagonistic position with the tribunal. Maybe a dangerous position. But yeah, okay, so I think a lot of that document was unreliable. and didn't make that much sense. But the idea that Nerevar was murdered, maybe not in that exact way, maybe that's a bit poetic, but it was noticeable in Vivek's account how he just didn't mention Nerevar's death at all. Just skipped a couple of 100 years and was like, oh yeah, Nerevar's dead now. So that is a bit suspicious. Okay. Let me have a bit of my couple of swigs of beer. Oh, remember when I said this was going to be a short episode? What I meant by that was it's going to be an extra long episode where nothing at all happens. If you're still with me, congratulations. Let's move on to our third document, Dagoth's plans. So this is of particular interest to us because we don't really know what the Sixth House is doing. We know they're weird and they set up dungeons and they have fanatics and stuff, but we don't really know what their end goal is. All they ever say to us is just join us. So let's see if we can find out what Dagoth actually wants. Because so far from what we've read, he seems to be pretty blameless. He always said to, in both accounts, he says to destroy the tools. And he fights the Tribunal, tries to fend them off, just because they tried to take the tools from him and Nerevar's not with them. So he seems loyal and, you know, kind of innocent. But then again, obviously, in that time while Nerevar was gone, Dagoth must have done something with the tools and the heart, because he wouldn't have had a chance to afterwards. So I guess he did do something by himself. Anyway, let's have a look what his plans are. The following documents were prepared by the temple scholars and agents of the Inquisition for Lord Vivek. From interrogation of captured sleepers and other Sixth House cultists, from study of manuscripts written by cultists and victims of dream-induced mania, from interviews with Lord Vivek concerning historical campaigns against Red Mountain, and from broad conjectures and inferences made upon these materials, this is our best estimate of Dagoth's motivations and objectives in this most recent phase of his war upon Morrowind. Basic objectives. Establish a theocracy in Morrowind based on the worship of the newborn god Akullakan, second of Numidium. Oh, there you go. So Numidium was the first one that, what's his face, Tiber Septim. Did Tiber Septim ride it around and conquer Tamriel? I'm a bit rusty on my my older Elder Scrolls lore, something like that, isn't it? And Akullakan is this new god of metal that the Dwemer were building. So we have a name for it now. Akullakan. We should have a look at some of the Dwemer books we have at home after this. Yeah, that's worth doing. Anyway, worship of the newborn god Akullakan, to be created by Dagoth from the heart of Lorkhan, and a body constructed according to the principles and rituals pioneered by the Dwemer Kagrenak. Establish the ancient heirs of House Dagoth as the god priests of Akullakan, and the Sixth House of Dagoth as the dominant political power in Morrowind. Through charismatic conversion, unite the Dwemer under the guidance of Dagoth to battle against the foreign animals who hold Morrowind in subjection. Note, Dagoth has apparently adopted the views and motivations of the Dwemer High Craft Lord Kagrenak. In effect, he recapitulates the ancient blasphemous folly of the Dwemer. That is interesting, isn't it? In fact. that he has Dagoth isn't just seeking out revenge against the Tribunal. His ideologies have shifted in line with the dwemer. Somewhat. To make, to finish the god that they started. I mean, if you see the cultists, they're not particularly logical or filled with reason. So I guess you can't really compare the 6th house to the dwemer, but yeah, Dagoth, he wants more than revenge, and it's interesting. Number 2, expose the false worship of the Tribunal and destroy the ecclesiastical authority and political power of the temple. How much the dissident priests or the cult of the Nerevar may be controlled or influenced by the 6th house in this regard is open to speculation. Okay, there's the revenge. 3. Extirpate all remaining individuals of inferior and mongrel races from Morrowind. That's bad. Yeah, I was going to say number 3 is bad because Siltanalia kind of likes the immigrants in Morrowind. She is one. She's not native, but she's moved here and she kind of likes Morrowind. That leads on to number 4. Drive the Empire from Morrowind. Siltanalia really likes the Empire in Morrowind. She doesn't like hanging out in like Sadrith Mora. Oh no, mushrooms and stuff. Weird. Siltanalia likes a nice castle with a town built around it. That's how she likes her towns. So yeah, all of this. I mean, not that we're expecting to like or approve of Dagoth's plans, but reading this, it does sound particularly bad. 5. Recover ancient territories stolen by Skyrim and Argonia. Okay, so Dagoth wants to expand Morrowind's borders. Extend the worship of Akulakhan to all nations of Tamriel through subversion and conquest. That's a fancy way of saying march a giant robot around and stomp on everyone who has a problem with it. Okay, this continues for quite a while. Okay, let's carry on. We might as well go for it, hadn't we? Plans to establish and expand the 6th house. Phase 1. Secure Red Mountain against Tribunal intruders. Deny Tribunal access to the heart, weakening the temple while securing Red Mountain for the creation of Akulakhan. Keep the construction of the 2nd Numidium a secret. Phase 2. Create passive servants in ever-widening circles around Red Mountain by broadcasting compulsions couched in dream imagery to susceptible subjects in their sleep. Establish a major operational base at Kogorun for further operations in the Ash Wastes. Okay. I don't think we've know of Kogorun, so that's worth making a note of. Establish smaller bases near small port villages and in lower class waterfront districts in Vivec. Infiltrate and subvert smuggling syndicates. Recruit willing followers from disaffected populations including the underworld, the poor, and rabid anti-imperial activists. So Dagoth is recruiting the far right. Okay. Phase 3. Expand from smaller bases to other towns and villages and recruit and indoctrinate subjects made susceptible by dream sendings. Occupy abandoned towers and ruins and train corrupted cultists as raiders and irregular troops. Identify, discredit, and decimate possible sources of political resistance. Phase 4. Use assassination and terror to weaken, distract, and disrupt the legions and the imperial bureaucracy, along with their Hlalu sympathizers. Well, that's really bad. I'm a Hlalu sympathizer. Okay, Siltanalia really doesn't want to be assassinated. We've tried that, and we didn't care for it. So we'd appreciate it if it didn't start up again. Inspire popular uprisings of the native poor against the foreign, rich, and powerful. Oh god. This is sounding really bad for us. Summon sleepers and dreamers to Dagoth to work on Second Numidium. Inferring Dagoth's perspectives. Dagoth thinks on a large timescale, for the most part in the outside of timescale of the divine consciousness. He thinks that only obstacles of mythic scale are worth consideration. He believes he is fated to rule Morrowind, to free Morrowind of the Empire, and to become the new hard-loving father of Morrowind. Given the perspective, the only opposing forces Dagoth worries about are the Tribunal, the Daedra, the Emperor, and the Incarnate. With the Tribunal's loss of Sunder and Keening... They've said it. It's official. The Tribunal lost the tools, Sunder and Keening, and that means Keening, which we have found, it's in our basement, is in fact one of Kagranak's tools. Our suspicion is confirmed. Great. With the loss of Sunder and Keening, and with the diminishing resources of Vivec, Almalexia, and Sothasil, so that does suggest as well that the Tribunal are weakening over time in some way. Maybe Dagoth is doing something with the heart. Dagoth believes he has permanently gained a decisive strategic advantage. On a mortal timescale, the battle may last for centuries, but the outcome is not in doubt, and Akulakan may be a device for dramatically reducing the timescale for a decisive victory. Should I pronounce that Akulakan or Akulakan? Akulakan sounds... rolls off the tongue a bit better. I'm going to swap to that. The myth of dynamic invincibility of the Emperor and the Empire has long been unquantifiable and intimidating. An unquantifiable and intimidating threat, but recent rumours of unrest in Cyrodiil, of the Emperor's failing health, and the unsettled questions of the succession have diminished the scale of that threat. Nonetheless, the revelation that the Nerevar is a pawn of Imperial intelligence, hand-picked and sent to Morrowind by the Emperor himself, may cause Dagoth considerable anxiety. Yeah, okay, so that's interesting that Dagoth might be worried about the Empire and unsure of how powerful, what powers they possess. And also, I like the idea that the Empire could just find someone who kind of fits some of the criteria of the Nerevar and just ship them off to Vvardenfell, just to cause panic and make maybe Dagoth or the Tribunal think that the Empire knows something that they don't. And, you know, think like, who is this person? Is that the Nerevar? Why have they been sent here? Was that why Siltanalia was sent here? She was meant to work with the Blades. We've cut our ties with the Blades quite permanently. So maybe we won't ever get answers about that. But I don't know, a creeping suspicion. has started to crawl over Silternalia, and maybe because she was released to Vvardenfell, worked with the Blades, maybe that's why Almalexia thinks that she has something to do with Nerevar. I don't know. Next up, the Daedra represent no coherent obstacle to Dagoth. Nonetheless, their personal abilities and their influence upon their fanatic followers is considerable. Their motives and actions obscure, and Dagoth remains concerned about them. The Incarnate represents Saint Nerevar, a mythic force that has previously defeated Dagoth, and Dagoth is obsessed with this threat. At the same time, Dagoth knew Nerevar personally, knew that he was a mortal man with faults and weaknesses. Dagoth may have some hope of seducing or negotiating with Nerevar's reincarnation. Further, when Nerevar and the Tribunal defeated Dagoth, they were strong and allied. Now, the Nerevarine and the Tribunal are weak, opposed and divided. Therefore, though the Nerevarine and the Tribunal represent the most serious threat to Dagoth's plans, he still has good reason to believe that this time he will prevail. A recent timescale of Dagoth's activities. Much of the following timescale is based on inference from incomplete information. Before Second Era 882, Dagoth and his kin lie dreaming beneath the sills of Red Mountain. And then, Second Era 882, Dagoth and his ash vampires awake refreshed and emerge from Lower Red Mountain into the Heart Chamber. Dagoth ritually binds himself and his brethren as heart wights in a ritual of his own devising. First stages of construction of Second Numidium, conceived during the Long Sleep, are begun by Heartwights and Atronach constructs in a chamber near the heart of Lorcan. Keeping the Second Numidium project a secret from the Tribunal is a high priority. Same year, the Tribunal arrive at Red Mountain for their annual ritual bathing in the Heart's power. Here we go, that explains so much. Dagoth and Ash Vampires ambush the Tribunal. The Tribunes are driven away and prevented from restoring themselves with Kagranak's tools at the heart of Lorcan. So this is why the Tribunal are weakening. They can't go back to the heart to recharge their god batteries. They're losing their power slowly. Is this why Almalexia is so... and Sothosil apparently are losing their minds? Are changing? Maybe. Probably. That makes sense. And then between the Second Era 882 and the Third Era 417, intermittent Tribunal campaigns assault Red Mountain. The Tribunal and the supporting forces seek to force access to the Heart Chamber, but are repeatedly driven back. Dagoth recruits sleepers and dreamers through dream sendings. Cultists are recruited through dream compulsion. Weaker cultists become corporous beasts. Stronger cultists advance through the stages towards the powers of the ascended sleepers. So, the Tribunal haven't bathed in the heart glow or whatever they do to recharge for hundreds of years. And they normally, and previously, they'd go every year. So yeah, that's a big deal. Coggaroon, reoccupied by Dagoth Uthal, and fortified as an advanced base for 6th House operations. Blight storms more frequent and widespread. Soul sickness spreads in regions close to Red Mountain. Third era 410. 6th House bases founded near Narmok and in waterfront areas of Vivec. 6th House operatives exploit smuggler organizations and communications to spread their influence among victims unbalanced by Dagoth's dream sendings. Small cells of 6th House cultists in every town in Vvardenfell. Large 6th House operations are concealed in remote dungeons where creatures are bred and cultists are trained for the coming struggle. 417. Almalexia and Sothisil lose the artifacts Keening and Sunder to Dagoth, Odros, and Vemin. Odros, we know that guy. Yeah, okay, and he had Keening, that makes sense. So Dagoth Vemin has Sunder, I suppose we can assume. Vivec rescues Almalexia and Sothisil, but failing to recover Keening and Sunder, the Tribunal retreat from Red Mountain in disorder. One thing I'm noticing here is, well, we never fought Dagoth Odros, so maybe we are very lucky we didn't fight him. Maybe he would have killed us, but it just seems like the Tribunal, they're meant to be so powerful, but they can't fight the 6th House. The 3 living gods are unable to break into the Heart Chamber and kill everyone there. It makes Siltanalia think maybe they're not that powerful anymore. It's been a long time. Surviving a buoyant armiger companions know the Tribunal was forced to retreat, but do not know how serious a reversal the Tribunal has suffered. The 3 tribunes return to their respective capitals and continue to perform their ritual functions. The tribunes continue to grow weaker without access to the heart and because of resources required to support the ghost fence. Okay, so ghost fence is draining them as well. It's a constant drain on their power. The inner circle of the temple priesthood has begun to suspect the tribunes have suffered seriously from the wounds of demoralization in the wake of reverses at Red Mountain, but do not recognize the scale of the problem. 3rd era 426-47. Campaign of 6th House assassinations of prominent Imperial citizens and Hlalu Imperial sympathizers. Uh-oh. That sounds bad. Sudden increase in number and seriousness of attacks by cultists and victims deranged by soul sickness. Noted with concern. Dagoth can apparently perceive and communicate directly through his cultists. Sleepers and dreamers are often reported speaking as though with Dagoth's voice and intention. That is terrifying. I kind of wish something like that would... I suppose the dreamers do kind of speak to you, but it never feels like it's they're directly talking as Dagoth. That would be cool. Little is known about the features, scale, or stage of completion of Akulakan. Oh god, I'm just gonna Akulakan. I'm settling with that. Completion of Akulakan, 2nd Namidium. No one has gained entrance to the Heart Chamber since 2nd era 282. That was a long time ago. In 3rd era 417, Keening and Sunder were captured and may substantially aid in Akulakan's construction. Well, there we go. That's what's happening in Vvardenfell. That's put everything we've seen, all these cultists, these bases around the place, the dreamers on the streets speaking nonsense to us. That's the context for it all. And yeah, I'm glad we read this. We've still got one document to go. Oblivion, help me. We've still got one more document to go. I'm running out of beer. And it's the plan to defeat Dagoth. I thought this one might be a little bit shorter, but no. No, it's probably the longest yet. Oh, okay. The plan to defeat Dagoth. For the past 20 years, the Tribunal have tried unsuccessfully to execute this plan. However, we failed because we were required to stage an assault and simultaneously maintain the ghost fence to prevent the threatened large-scale breakout of Dagoth's blighted hosts. With the Nerevar leading the assault, and the Tribunal free to devote their full energies to maintaining the ghost fence, this plan has a greater chance of success. Unfortunately, however, the loss of the artifacts Sunder and Keening and the recent increase in Dagoth's strength poses new problems for the execution of the plan. Therefore, our proposed plan has the following 5 phases. Number 1, a series of aggressive raids to scout inside Ghost Fence. Number 2, a series of aggressive raids to neutralise Dagoth's Ash Vampire kin and recover artifacts from the bodies of his kin. Number 3, an assault of Gate Citadel Vvardenfell to neutralise Dagoth Vermin and recover the artifact Hammer Sunder. So that's where Sunder is, we know that now. An assault of Gate Citadel Odrosel to neutralise Dagoth Odros and recover the artifact Blade Keening. Way ahead of you, Vivek. And an assault of Citadel Dagoth with the artifacts Wraithguard, Sunder and Keening to sever Dagoth's connection to the Heart of Lorkhan and thus destroy Dagoth. What is Wraithguard? No one's mentioned that before. That is the first we've heard of Wraithguard. It's a mystery to us. Right, I don't think we need to read this right now because we're not at all we're not planning to do this right now. I'm more interested in context and learning about what has happened rather than what Vivek's planning. But it looks like Vivek wants to use the Nerevar to execute his plan, so that's surprising. Maybe Vivek's losing it a little bit as well, because the temple historically has been very anti-incarnate. But Vivek seems to think a reincarnated Nerevar would return to life to lend assistance to his problem and save the Tribunal. Doesn't seem to make much sense. Surely Nerevar, if he was reincarnated, he'd come back to get revenge on those who killed him. Why would Nerevar want to help them out? But maybe Nerevar would want to destroy the heart. In fact, that's an interesting thing. What happens if... The source of Dagoth's supernatural power is the Heart of Lorkhan. The heart is also the source of the Tribunal's divine powers. During mythic times, the gods took and hid Lorkhan's heart beneath Red Mountain as a punishment for creating the mortal plane. The dwemer discovered the heart while building underground colonies. High Craft Lord Kagrenak created enchanted tools and intended to tap the power of the heart. The War of the First Council was fought to prevent this sacrilege. Kagrenak's use of these tools and and the disappearance of the Dwemer race marked the end of the war. Kagranak's tools were recovered by Lord Nerevar and Dagoth. Dagoth was left to guard the tools while Nerevar came to consult with us, his advisors. In Nerevar's absence, Dagoth experimented with the tools upon the heart and was corrupted. We returned to discover a deranged Dagoth who refused to turn over the tools. When he attacked us, we drove him away. We left Red Mountain with the tools, and subsequently Sothasil discovered their secrets. Collectively, we used the tools to establish a connection with the heart, enabling ourselves to transform our mortal natures. We became the Tribunal. Okay, we know this. Dagoth survived. Our plan to destroy Dagoth also runs the risk of destroying the Tribunal. The plan is to permanently disrupt Kagranak's enchantments upon the heart, severing connections with Dagoth and ourselves, and rendering us all once again mortal. A mortal Dagoth may then be destroyed by mundane means. The loss of godhood and the possible death of the Tribunal are judged as necessary risk. Are judged a necessary risk and sacrifice. Okay, that's what I was wondering. So this plan that Vivek has could potentially lead to the Tribunal losing their divine powers. The normal procedure for establishing connection with the heart is a 3-step process. The wearer of Wraithguard strikes the heart with the hammer sunder, causing the heart to produce a pure tone. Then the wearer of Wraithguard strikes the heart with the blade keening, shattering the pure tone into a prism of tone shades. These tone shades are then imprinted upon the substance of the wearer of Wraithguard, giving him an immortal divine nature. The Nerevarine will not be taught the secret rituals required to perform the 3rd step. So the Tribunal, wary of anyone using the tools to give themselves divine powers. Shouldn't be surprised, I suppose. Instead, the Nerevarine will strike the heart with keening for a second time, causing its tones to diverge into unstable patterns of interference. Further repeated strikes with keening will further disrupt the tones, with the ultimate result of shattering and dispelling Kagranak's original enchantments, binding the heart, thereby severing the heart's links with Dagoth and with any surviving heart wights, and with the Tribunal. Destroying Kagranak's enchantments on the heart will also stop the corrupt effusion of the heart's divine power and end the blight on Morrowind. The Nerevarine may be tempted to steal the power of the heart. Dagoth and Sothasil alone know this secret. Okay, those 2 sentences right there have caught Siltanelli's attention. Steal the power of the heart. Dagoth and Sothasil know this secret. I mean, we weren't thinking about doing anything like that, but you know, Siltanelia does have an appointment to go speak with Sothasil very soon. Maybe, you know, we're on our way to go speak with Sothasil. We have one of Kagranak's tools in our basement. Siltanelia is not actually considering using the heart's powers, but you know, maybe it might be good to know this secret, you know, just in case. Yeah, that's definitely caught her attention there. And, you know, she just wants to know on like an academic level. She's an enchanter. She just likes to know how these things work. She has no intention of using the heart. No. Just, you know, just interested. Academically. Dagoth may, in extremity, propose to teach the Nerevarine to use Kagranak's tools to become a god. We doubt that the Nerevarine is fool enough to trust Dagoth and are content to take this risk. Be warned, the Nerevarine cannot safely equip either Sunder or Keening unless wearing Wraithguard. Yes, we have discovered that already. The Nerevarine will be injured every moment while holding either of these artifacts unless protected by Wraithguard. Persistence will be rewarded with death. If Nerevarine can equip an item while not wearing Wraithguard and receive no injury, the item is counterfeit. That's cool. So where is Wraithguard? That's a big question. We know Dagoth Vermin has Sunder. We've got Keening. Where is Wraithguard? One last note. Dagoth must not get hold of Wraithguard. The Nerevarine here. The Nerevarine must prepare and use a recall or Almzivi intervention if there is any risk of death or capture. I mean, thinking about Wraithguard, there are 3 artifacts, 3 of the Tribunal. Almalexia and Sothasil were in trouble and lost Keening and Sunder. Does that mean that Vivek has 3rd tool? Maybe. Maybe they had 1 each and those 2 lost theirs, but Vivek still has his. Unsure? Maybe. Don't know. What's this? The element of surprise. Dagoth will not expect you to destroy Kagranak's enchantments on the heart. He does not know it is possible. He would not do it himself, and he knows we have never tried it. He will not believe anyone would want to sacrifice the promise of such power. Further advancement in House Dagoth, as in all great houses, is by challenge and confrontation within the hierarchy. The Nerevarine's challenges and defeats of ash vampires and battles with the 6th house will be viewed in that light. I see. Dagoth may assume Nerevarine's ambition is to control the heart. Is there anything else I want to look at? Oh, that's my cat is hungry. I think she's going nuts. Be right back. Okay, let's wrap this up because this has taken a while. This is closing remarks. I don't think there's any information for us here in particular. It may be that if the Nerevarine succeeds, the Tribunal will not survive. On behalf of Lady Almalexia and Lord Sothasil, Vivek. So this is written by Vivek, not the other 2. Important to note. Okay, I wasn't expecting to spend my entire evening reading these 4 documents, but I think they're probably the best.
Someone there.
Shut up, Silton. It's probably the best text in the game. I love those 4, and I learned new things that I didn't know there. There was odd snippets and stuff of conflicting evidence. Really interesting stuff. If you stuck with all of that through all of my terrible reading, apologies, but I don't know. Well done. That's taken way longer than I thought it would, though. So we're going to we're not going to take these. Let's see if Vivek has anything to say to us now. Probably not. Unwilling to speak, just looks down on us so much that he's just unwilling to even give us a conversation, to acknowledge anything that we've just read, share his opinion. No, he doesn't care. So, we learned some stuff, but Silternalia has also gained a dislike for Vivec, a further dislike for these living gods, and she's lost a lot of respect for the Tribunal. And maybe even she's not quite as afraid of them as she used to be. A lot to reflect on there, and I could ramble on for longer, but this has probably been a long enough episode as it is. So I'm going to go and get all my equipment prepared off camera, and next time I think we are going to Clockwork City. So I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.